friends. Are you ready for some fun on Friday Fun with Sara? I sure hope so. Today we're going to take these and make these. Aren't they adorable? They're little hats with gnome beards and a little bead for the nose. And they're super easy to make and super fun. You can hang them on your Christmas tree. You can hang them around your house. You can add them to gifts or just give them as a gift themselves. They're also super fun if you're having some friends or family over for Christmas to set one at each place setting and let them take one home with them. That way they'll remember the great time they had at your get-together. All right, let's talk about what else you need besides your toilet paper roll to make some Christmas gnome hats. So to make some of these Christmas hats with gnome beards and noses, you need, of course, some toilet paper rolls. Something I discovered is that the rolls like this one that I used a few years ago are smaller than the ones they make now. But that's okay. Both will work. From one paper roll, you usually get 2 hats. All right? So however many hats you want to make, 2 hats off 1 toilet paper roll. All right? Then you're going to need a bead. And this is about a 1/2 inch bead. And I like these wooden ones. This one is one I made with polymer clay. So if you know how to use polymer clay, you can always make some beads for noses. Or you can just go buy some of these wooden ones. I got a bag of about 20, I think, and they were like $1.97. And you don't have to worry about yarn getting through because we're just going to glue it on because it's the nose. And that's where the glue comes into it. I like to use E6000. You can use a fabric glue or you can even use your hot glue. And we just need it to attach the nose. All right, now we will use a crochet hook in one portion of it, which is when we attach the beard. It doesn't really matter what size. You can use anywhere from, a G to an F, H, I. Any of them will work as long as you can get it through the top. All right, so we need just a crochet hook for one portion of adding on the beard. And then of course you're going to need some yarns. You can use any weight yarns that you want to. I prefer either a light 3, which this one is a 3, or a 4, this one is a 4, or you can use a bulky 5. The only difference is you'll have a little bit bulkier yarn here and on your beard, and you'll use less length of yarn because you're using a thicker yarn. But just get in your yarn stash and just come up with some colors. Like this one is a red sparkle with a red sparkle or a green sparkle ribbon. This one is light green and blue sparkle, and I added a red sparkle ribbon. So you can use whatever colors that you have on hand, and they don't have to be solids. They can be variegated as well. For today's demonstration, I'm going to use this pretty pink sparkle and this purple sparkle. And then I'm just going to use a regular white yarn. These are all medium weight, number 4 yarns. And again, the amount of yarn you need really depends on how thick you want to make your hat. It doesn't take very much, just a couple of ounces actually. Not even an ounce per hat and per this. So not very much yarn at all. Okay, let's see. You're also going to need your scissors because you'll need to trim and cut your strands of yarn for the beard and the hat. All right, so I think that's everything besides a tape measure or a ruler, and I've got them both out here. I use both of them for this project, okay? I use my tape measure when we're measuring for the hat, and I use my ruler for wrapping, for cutting the beard. And we'll talk more about all of that as we go along. All right, we'll begin first with making the hat, and then we'll add the beard and the nose. So the first thing that we need to do is to cut our roll. And what we're going to do is you can either use your tape measure or a ruler, and we're going to measure up 1.5 inches. I like to use my ruler because I can set it on here. All right, so there's my beginning inch. I'm going to take an ink pen or a pencil, whatever you have, and you want to mark 1.5 inches. All right, then we'll just move it up. And we'll mark another 1.5 inches. And those are where we'll cut those I make a slit like this, and then I can just put my scissors in there and cut around. And then I'll come back this side and do the same thing. All right, now all I have to do is cut one more. We don't want to cut up on this because you end up ruining that. So what I'll do is I'll just take the end of my scissors and kind of poke it in there gently, and then I'm in. Okay, and we'll just cut that around. All right, so now I have two circles, move these out of the way, that I can make two hats with. Now it's time to cut our strands of yarn that we're going to wrap around our toilet paper roll that we've cut. So you need to lay out a tape measure that's 18 inches. And you're going to cut strands of yarn, and I usually do 2 at a time, like this. I'll put it on here, go across. When I get to the 18, then I'll clip. Now, you're going to need approximately 30 or more strands of yarn. And that's kind of why I do them 2 at a time. That way, once I get this one cut, then I can move the tape measure and just use that one as my sort of knowing the length of what it's going to be. And I'll go like this, and I'll continue to cut these until I have 30. And then once I have 30, I'll just cut all the loops on the ends, because I want to have approximately 30 or more strands of yarn. So what we're going to do is we're going to take 2 strands, and on this one I'm doing 2 colors, so I'm going to take 1 strand of each color. We'll fold it like this. We'll put our finger in and grab the loop, then pull the tails of the yarn through that loop. And then we'll snug that down. We want it to stay put, but you don't want your cardboard to bend, okay? And we'll continue to do this until the cardboard ring is completely covered. We'll put our fingers in, grab that loop, then bring the tails of our yarn through that loop. And I do 2 strands at once. Okay, sometimes when I'm using a thicker yarn, like a chunky 5, I may only do 1 strand. You do what works best for you. If it's easier to just do 1 strand, then just do 1 strand. All right, so I'm going to continue to put my loops of yarn on until I filled the whole tube of my tube. So we're just going to fill it all up, make sure it's nice and snug and none of the cardboard is showing through. All right. So I've been working on it. I've got it just about covered up. I'm going to add 1 more right here. There we go. Get it on my finger. There we go. Alrighty, so it looks pretty covered. Everything's laying nicely. I kind of check, make sure all my strands are moved around where they need to be. Alright, so now I have another piece of yarn cut here, about 1.5 inches. Alright, that's where we're going to put this tie. About 1.5 inches. And we'll give it a good tie. And we'll do another one just so it stays put. There we go. And I usually do another one. Okay, this tie is going to be the tie that will be our hanger. So I'll go ahead and tie a knot in the end there and just trim that so it looks nice. All right, so now let me grab my little thing here I like to use to catch my yarn strands. So the next thing we're going to do here is we're going to trim off the top so that it looks like it has a pom-pom. Now make sure you don't trim this. This is going to be our hanger. So I'm going to pull that out of the way, and then I'm going to put these all together, and then I'm just going to trim them so that they're even. And this is going to give it the look of having a pom-pom at the top of our hat. And so I usually trim it, kind of floof it around. You can trim it if you want it a little bit shorter. There we go. Make it look nice and pretty. And now it looks like it has a little pom-pom on the top of the hat. So the hat itself is finished except for adding a bow at the top. But we're not going to do that just yet because now we're going to make the little beard so it looks like it's a gnome hat. To make the beard, I'm just making mine out of white. You can use an off-white or any color that you want to for the beard on your gnome. All right, so the first thing we need to do is cut one strand of yarn that's approximately 18 inches long. We need a nice long strand in order to hold the pom-pom. I take 2 strands of yarn and I loosely wrap it around my 4 fingers about 30 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now if you want a bigger pom-pom, you can wrap it more. If you want it to be more of a loose pom-pom, you can wrap it less. So here are my loops. I'm going to lay that down. Here is a piece of yarn that we cut, and so I'm going to put it underneath. And we're going to tie that. Make sure it's nice and even. There we go. I'm going to give it 3 good ties so my pom-pom does not come undone. We don't want that to happen on our ornament. All right, one more good tie. All right, so now we need to cut all these loops. All right, so I've got my container again, and I'm just going to cut all the loops. Also, if a longer beard is wanted for your gnome, you can make your loops longer. Have some fun and experiment and see which looks best to you. Remember, not everyone likes things the same, and so you can do it the best way that works for you. All right, now, looks like a mess, doesn't it? All righty, this one's quite full and I really like it. All right, so here's my strings. I'm going to pull that forward and we're going to do a little trimming. Now I don't like them to be super even. I like them to be just a tad bit, not messy, but not perfect, I guess I should say. But of course, if you're a perfectionist and you want your beard perfect, you just keep trimming until it's the way that you like it. All right, so there's my beard. You can see I still need a little bit of trimming to do. And I'm just fluffing it out so I can see where it needs some trimming. And then I'll do that again. Get rid of some of these that were hiding. All right, so I think that's pretty good. It's a much fuller one than I put on the other ones, so I'm really excited to see how this one's going to look. The way we attach the beard or pom-pom onto our hat is you're going to need your crochet hook. All right, so we're going to take the end of this and tie a knot in it. And this part is just so we can get this up through the top of the hat. So you'll take your crochet hook and you'll put it right through the top. Make sure you go in the center and not on the side. All right. Now we're going to grab that loop like that. And now you'll gently pull this through the top of the hat. Okay, and that knot was just to get it up through there. Now it's up to you how far up you want that beard to sit. I really like this one. It's really nice. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to push this down just a little and tie another knot. There we go. And then we're going to carefully clip that off so we don't cut our pom-pom. And now that's going to hold that up inside your hat. Isn't that cute? Now, something you may be worried about is that beard coming off. And this is where you can use your glue, hot glue E6000 or fabric glue. And you can just put, I'm going to show you, just a little bit on the edge. And I do it on the front and on the back. Up in a little bit inside that hat. And that's also going to help it stay put. Now, with the E6000, it's going to take a little bit longer to dry, but it is worth putting that in there so that you don't lose your beard. Okay, let's go ahead and pull that out. And that knot's going to hold it up inside there. Okay, I got one little loop there. Let me fix that. There we go. And then the last thing, oops, I got glue on my cloth there. The last thing we need to do is just add a little glue. And I put a little on the front and on the back. And let me move this so we don't get any more on our cloth. There we go. And the reason we do it that way is wherever we decide to put this, we want it to glue to the beard and to the hat. And we just slide it under there just a little bit and let that glue dry. All right, and that's how you make a gnome Christmas hat. Here is the red one. I'll put it down here. And the blue one. Be careful of that glue spot because I don't want that to get on my gnomes. And you can see the beards are different. This one's really full. This one is not quite so full. And this one reminds me of a Smurf because it is red. All right, now the last thing you might want to add is a bow here. I added a bow of green on this one for contrast and red on this one for contrast on here. You could easily add that on there. You just go around again. And add a bow. And I like to do the little bunny ears. Let me pull this down so you can see what I'm doing. I didn't realize that was so high. There we go. So I tied it on. Gonna make the bunny ears. I'm trying to be careful of that spot of glue there. There we go. And we'll just trim that off. And now our gnome has his nose, a bow, and a beard. Isn't that cute? So get in your yarn stash, come up with some neat colors, even some different colored beads maybe, like this one is that lighter color one, and have some fun. Wasn't that super fun and super easy? You can just make the hats if you want to, or you can add the little pom-pom with the bead for the gnome. Isn't that cute? I've got a bunch more colors of sparkle yarn left over, and I'm going to make a whole bunch more of these. Super cute. Well, thanks for being with me for Friday Fun with Sara, and I'll see you next Friday. Oh, next week's Thanksgiving, so Friday Fun's going to be on Wednesday next week. I'll see you there. Bye-bye now.